Well, greetings, everyone. It's Pastor Kevin again. It is February the 2nd. We've made it through a whole month already, and now we're getting ready to read chapter 23. This is the 23rd day of reading the New Testament in a year, and we're right in the thick of it. Jesus is about to be crucified, and this is a very, very difficult chapter to read. So here we go. Then their whole assembly rose up and brought him before Pilate. They began to accuse him, saying, "We have found this man subverting our nation, opposing payment of tax to Caesar, and saying that he himself is the Messiah and a king." So Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He answered them, You have said it." Pilate then told the chief priests and the crowds, "I find no grounds of charging this man." But they kept insisting, "He stirs up people, teaching throughout all Judea from Galilee. He started even to here." When Pilate heard this, he asked if he was a man, if the man was Galilean. Finding what he was under Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem during those days. Herod was very glad to see Jesus. For a long time, he wanted to see him because he'd heard about him and was hoping to see some miracle performed by him. So he asked him questions, but Jesus did not answer him. The chief priests and the scribes stood by, vehemently accusing him. Then Herod, with his soldiers, treated him with contempt, mocking him, dressed him in a brilliant robe, and sent him back to Pilate. That very day, Herod and Pilate became friends. Previously, they'd been hostile towards one another. Pilate called together the chief priests and leaders of the people and said to them, "You have brought me this man as one who subverts the people. But in fact, after examining him in your presence, I have found no grounds to charge this man with those things you accuse me. Neither has Herod, because he sent him back to us. Clearly, he has done nothing to deserve death. Therefore, I will have him whipped and then released. For according to the festival, he had to release someone to them." Then they all cried out, "Take this man away, release Barabbas to us." He had been thrown into prison for rebellion that had taken place in the city and for murder. Pilate, wanting to release Jesus, addressed them again, but they kept shouting, "Crucify, crucify him." The third time he said to them, "Why? What has this man done? I have found in him no grounds for the death penalty. Therefore, I will have him whipped and then release him." But they kept up the pressure, demanding and with loud voices that he be crucified. And their voices won out. So Pilate decided to grant their demand and released the one they were asking for, who had been thrown into prison for rebellion and murder. But he handed Jesus over to their will. As they led him away, they seized Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, and laid the cross on him to carry behind Jesus. A great multitude of people followed him, including the women who were mourning and lamenting him. But turning to them, Jesus said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and your children. Look, the days are coming when they will say, 'Blessed are the barren, the women who never bore, and the breasts that never nursed.' They then will begin to say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' and to the hills, 'Cover us.' For they do these things when the wood is green. And what will happen when it is dry?" Two other criminals were also led away to be executed with him. When they arrived to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there, along with the criminals, one on the right and one on the left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, because they do not know what they are doing." and they divided his clothes and cast lots. The people stood watching, and even the leaders kept scoffing. He saves others. Let him save himself, if this is God's Messiah, the chosen one. The soldiers also mocked him. They came offering him sour wine and said, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." An inscription was above him, "This is the King of the Jews." Then one of the criminals hanging there began to yell insults at him. "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other answered, rebuking him, "Don't you even fear God, since you are undergoing the same punishment? We are punished righteously, or we are punished justly, because we're getting back what we deserve for the things that we did. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." He said to him, "I assure you, today you will be with me in paradise." It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3, because the sun's light failed. The curtain of the sanctuary was split down the middle, and Jesus called out in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit." Saying this, he breathed his last breath. When the centurion saw what happened, he began to glorify God, saying, "This man really was righteous." All the crowds that had gathered for this spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, went home, striking their chests. But all who knew him, including the women who had followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance watching these things. There was a good and righteous man named Joseph, a member of the Sanhedrin, who had agreed with their plan and action. He was in Arimathea, a Judean town, and was looking forward to the kingdom of God. He approached Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Taking it down, he wrapped it in fine linen and placed it in the tomb chest placed it in a tomb cut into the rock where no one had ever been placed. It was preparation day, and the Sabbath was about to begin. The women who had come with him from Galilee followed along and observed the tomb and how his body was placed. Then they returned and prepared spices and perfumes, and they rested on the Sabbath according to the commandment. All right, friends. We'll see you next time. Last chapter.